Well, here's a question for you fans of the Pleiades. Can you take just any Subaru into the Outback, even if it ain't an Outback? Let's examine this right now. My dear friends, do you enjoy food? Are you a fan of fine cuisine? Well, isn't it great that Subaru has seen fit to take their mid-size, compact mid-size sedan and make a special edition called the Legacy. It's named after Emeril Lagasse, the fine, well, you've probably seen him on the Food Network and in all kinds of infomercials selling his fine products, or any of his many restaurants, including those in New Orleans, Louisiana. And here, what? It's not? Oh, that's very different. Well, actually, I'm informed that it's this car is not named after Emeril Lagasse. It's called a Legacy, you see, and it is the stalwart of the Subaru line in that it's not a wagon or a hatchback or anything like that. It is a true sedan. Now, it uses the same chassis, basically, running gear, if you will, their universal global platform that is found in many vehicles, including the Outback station wagon. But it is a sedan in every sense. And it is, like all Subarus, unique. It has a unique engine for a sedan. It has a unique drive system in that there's only one drive system available, and that's all-wheel drive, which Subaru has been doing for a number of years now. It makes a lot of sense if you live in a place that has weather and changeable weather, and weather where it gets cold and icy and nasty. And the Legacy is a real interesting car because I applaud the fact that Subaru bothers to still make cars, because a lot of manufacturers have gone, let's just say, another direction where everything's a truck or an SUV. But these guys have built a beautiful and very comfortable and really nice to drive sedan using all the Subaru attributes, including their legendary flat 4 boxer engine. And this particular version is the XT Touring model, which has got a supercharged 2.5 liter engine, which has got plenty of oomph. And it also has something else. It has something that Subaru has been working very hard on, and that's their version of the continuously variable transmission. Many of you refer to it as the CVT. And they've made a lot of progress with this gearbox, and there's just a whole lot to love here. But first and foremost, if we're going to talk about a Subaru, we have to talk about that beautiful horizontally opposed 4-cylinder engine. Let's take a look, shall we? Ah yes, how many cars do we have now that are powered by 2.5 liter engines? A lot of them, but not many of them. Well, okay, only Subarus are horizontally opposed boxer engines, like this one here. And this is kind of a potpourri of stuff when you look at it. What we have here, the first thing you notice when you open it up and have a look is, well, two things for it. Oil filter and intercooler for your turbocharger. Now the pistons are, there's two here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're opposed. They're in conflict with each other, hence the name boxer. And then you have a turbocharging system. Well, how do they, well, that means since we have cylinders on both sides, we have 2 exhaust manifolds. So, but there's only one turbocharger. So where is it? Oh, it's down there somewhere. It's behind, I don't know. It's in there. I do know one thing. Our intercooler comes around here and goes underneath and comes in and feeds into this composite spider structure on the top, which is our intake system. And this is fascinating stuff. And you also have this direct connection right here. So you can tell there's a whole lot of engineering going on with this car that Subaru has been very busy with. You got your belts up front, you still have belts here. But Subaru is quick to point out that they have chain-driven camshafts instead of, they used to have a timing belt like everybody else did. But like everybody else, they got rid of it and went to straight chains because chains require far less maintenance than the timing belts do. Something else that's really interesting about this is if you take a look up here, this is a functional intake from the hood that goes directly into the intercooler so that you get your extremely nice input of nice cool air to help your turbocharger charge the engine more efficiently with its compressed charge of air to add power to your little engine. And how much power? 260 horsepower is what you get out of this, and 260, 70 something foot-pounds of torque. Look down there, somewhere along here I'll put the torque numbers. They do not come readily to hand to me. But this is, believe it or not, as snake-like and crazy as this initially looks, this engine, everything's pretty accessible. I keep saying that because there is no engine in an automobile that I'm aware of that has an easier to get to oil filter than this guy right here. I mean, it's amazing. And I saw an ad the other day for a guy it wasn't an ad, it was actually a YouTube video. You may have heard of those. You know, people put stuff up, you know, people don't know clue what they're talking about. And he was comparing all these different oil filter wrenches. And he actually said, you know, and this is even good on those hard to get filters on Subarus. And I don't think he was actually being sarcastic. And I was trying to think back, I used to have a Subaru. I had a 1982 four-wheel drive wagon. I don't remember right offhand where the oil filter was, but it wasn't that easy to get to, but it wasn't overly difficult either. So anyway, this is a real nice power plant. It seems to idle smoothly. There's a few things about it that are, the one thing that I find that takes some of the refinement out of it in what is an otherwise very, very refined and smooth engine is the starting process when you use the auto stop-start system to save fuel when you stop at signals. And I mention this when I'm driving the car, but it's worth pointing out it seems to have just I would assume, a heavy-duty conventional starter. And the car does not always just start right up smoothly. It's not like it has to sit there and crank, but it's just not as smooth and efficient as so many other auto start systems are. And it to the point where the car actually shakes a little bit. And I find it not really annoying, but I find it unusual that it does that because, you know, these systems have been around for a while. And I guess the best way of describing it, it almost feels like it's an afterthought. And they didn't work that much on smoothing that out. And you can deal with it very effectively by just turning it off and just enjoy the nice smooth idle, which this car does have. And it also has a nice smooth power delivery. It's not excessively peaky like a lot of turbochargers. But it definitely has its own feel. I mean, a flat 4 is very different from an inline 4. And it's a Subaru, so look at that. Isn't that nice? You got your logo and you got your boxer engine. That's all Subaru right there, baby. Yes, sir. You know, I have always been of the belief that wheels are critical to an automobile. And these, as we slowly back out, I'm still learning how to use this new gimbal. Let's try that again. I've always been of the belief that wheels are Very important to an automobile. And these are 18 inches on this Subaru Legacy. And it's an interesting thing because they still have enough meat on them so that you don't have to worry about destroying the wheel if you hit a pothole or a rock or something like that. These are very nice all-terrain, not all-terrain, excuse me, all-season tires. Very appropriate because the Legacy is a car especially suited to people that live in places where it snows, because you just keep on going. It doesn't have near the ground clearance of the other Subarus, but it also, when you drive it, especially on the highway with a lot of crosswinds, is wonderfully stable. And as you can see, it has a fairly wide stance, and that and the lower chassis, or not, while the chassis itself is not lower, but let's just say the suspension and everything else keeps the car close enough to the ground that of all the Subarus that you can buy, this is probably one of the best handling. It's right up there with the WRX, which is actually a smaller car, but it does have enough ground. You know, that's really splitting hairs right there about having enough ground clearance to be a rally type vehicle and yet still be a car. This thing is built primarily for all road situations instead of any kind of off-road situations. And what you get is really good handling. And you get this thing out here called a trunk, and look at the size of this. Quite a bit of room in this trunk. I do like all the spaces. You could get several, or 2 or 3 very large suitcases in there. And if you pull this thing here, the seat will come forward, but it won't at the moment because I got something in the back seat that's very heavy. But it's very easy to lower the seat back so you have full access to the rear of the car so you can expand your cargo area. And there's no dedicated ski through, but you could certainly put down on one side and put all your skis in there, because this would be a very good road trip ski vehicle for taking up to your favorite resort there in the wintertime. And underneath here, we got a bunch of storage. We got some various tire accoutrements, but we don't have a spare tire, or do we? What's underneath there? Yeah, there's a temporary spare tire. Yay! Neatly packed away, so you can keep on going when you're going to your ski chalet. Neatly packed away so you can go to your chalet. Yes, sir, that's why I get paid nothing at all. So over here, we got these little cubbies, which are interesting because you got your longitudinal cargo area there. If you have a long item that's, you could put, what I'm trying to say ultimately is this is a very versatile trunk that has a lot of room in it, especially considering this is not a huge car. So these are great things, these sedans. And you have a nice secure area for your stuff. And you also have this kick-ass dual exhaust back here. Just a little while, it's very cold out right now. And just a little while ago, I was looking at this car and it was sitting there idling, and it had that nice steamy smoke coming out of them twin pipes. Oh boy. You just want to get in and go, kind of like that guy who's riding some kind of a dirt bike or something on a horse trail, and I'm gonna go bust his ass for doing that. But there you go, folks. It's a real sedan. It's a real Subaru. So let's get real. The man from Mars still eats up cars. Did a Mercury and a Subaru, if I recall. But we will have no car eating here. No. We will observe. Like this instrument cluster on this Subaru Legacy. Here's an interesting thing. This car is loaded with the latest in like visual tech display situation stuff. It really is, as you'll see in a minute when we look at the center screen. But right now, in the actual gauge instrument cluster, we have beautiful mechanical analog gauges. And in between, we have a what I would call, I always call them trip computers because that's such an understatement for what they actually do. But let's just call it an information centra, because that's much more accurate to what it actually does. And here we have all kinds of information at your beck and call, such as your mileage, your gas mileage, your range to empty, how long you've been on this particular journey, or how long the engine's been running this particular time, how far you've gone. Wow, here's an indicator for the automatic start-stop, which says 4 hours and 35 minutes. I don't know what the heck that's about. This is your, we don't have pressure on the tires yet because I believe the car needs to roll for a while, and I just pulled it forward, so that's not enough. Not enough. Then we have our compass, which is working beautifully at the moment, pointing us towards a south-southeast position. And we're on an unnamed road. And to be honest, road is kind of a generous term for what we're on. And this is what's on satellite radio, and outside temperature and clock. So there you go with that. That's your basic information cluster. And if you come down here, while we're at the steering wheel, I'm going to go ahead and do this part here, because here are your rather elaborate controls for your cruise control. And this is what confuses me. You got an arrow pointing to here, and this would imply to me that if you look at this, it would imply that if you activate this button, you would shorten the driving distance between the vehicle in front of you and your vehicle. It does exactly the opposite. Same thing here. This looks like you would be further away from the vehicle you're following, but the truth of the matter is you actually get closer. I don't know why that is. This is your lane centering steering technology. You push that on, push that off. And over here, of course, we have our radio communication center sort of thing. Excuse me. Must be fall, huh? Or late fall, early winter. Then we come over here to our massive central display. It is in, of course, the portrait mode as opposed to the landscape mode that most, I keep saying most, but I'm beginning to see more and more people using, or manufacturers using this particular format. They can put bigger maps on here. And this one is extremely important from the standpoint of so much of your car's operation is dictated through this screen, whether you like it or not. Yet we still have volume and tuning buttons for the radio right there, which is nice, which is good to have. But if you hit the home screen, we have all these different areas you can select. Let's have a look at the size of this map here, because it's enormous, as you can see. It's kind of down far from the actual windshield. So depending on where you are on the map, it can be, it's a bit of a jog for your eyes to make from the road down here, but that's the way that works. And like some of the stuff that used to be relegated to buttons or dials is now done on this touchscreen. For example, here's your seat ventilation, and here's your seat heating, and your climate control center. You'll notice it's all right here because there's no place else to put it because the screen's so big. You see what I'm saying? It's that's the Subaru way these days. They just go everything with the vast bulk of all your controls to the car are part of this system in the center stack, whether you like that or not. Now, one thing I need to comment on, I'm going to comment on it now, is see this thing here? Well, we got this thing blinking. And this thing over here, what that's associated with, let me show you, is the, let's see, more settings. Go over here. That's not the one I'm looking at. Driving assistance, pre-collision brake. Here we go, driver monitoring system. Now this is the system that has a camera, which I believe is one of these things right, I think it's right there, look at it, making it go on and off there. The purpose of that is to watch you so that if you start to nod off, it'll wake you up, or at least try to. That's a big part of it. And if you want to turn that off, which I don't like it, just for all kinds of reasons, There you can switch it off, and as you can see, the little red light up there is gone. Turn it back on. Turn it back on, I said. There we go. And it's back. It's back. And see that little flash? That's something to do with the camera watching me. So I got a camera on you, camera. That's right, do camera off here. Huh? Huh? My GoPro kick your ass. Well, there we go. So that's part of that. And as you can see, there are a whole lot of different menus you can choose from. Vehicle control is, of course, the vehicle dynamics control, which is your traction control in cahoots with your stability program. And here's an interesting one, cruise control acceleration. When you come almost to a stop or to a stop at a light while you do have the cruise control on, the speed at which you accelerate from that stop can be dictated by you. You can have eco, which will save more fuel. You got comfort, which I guess is smooth and soothing way of getting back up to speed. The standard, which is set on now, or dynamic. I'm gonna put it on dynamic, see what happens when I drive it around, and we'll see. I love the word dynamic. A lot more and more manufacturers use it for all kinds of different things, but it imparts excitement into your drive. So down here we have our very wonderfully conventional shifter, and this, of course, on the right hand side we got our view. Come on now, there we go. There's our rear camera in the rain, and I believe that is it in terms of, yeah, there's not a whole lot of settings with that, but you can turn it on. And going back here, our conventional shifter, you put your in drive and kick it over here, and you're in manual mode if you so desire to do that. And if you do go into manual mode, let's say here, got this here. Yeah, okay, this is, of course, Subaru's, their transmission is called the Lineartronic continuously variable transmission, and it's an 8-speed manual mode that you have for your entertainment pleasure and for your driving dynamics, because everything's about the dynamics, I'm telling you, on this car. Let's see here. What else am I looking for? I'm pretty sure this is leather seating we have here. Yes, it is. And it's very comfortable, actually. And one of the things in this price point that's quite nice is having that ventilation in addition to the seating, in addition to the heating components you have. So year-round, they're determined to help keep you comfortable. And the seats are very, very supportive. And this seems to be very well made and very durable leather. I don't think you'll have any trouble with this. Provided you get your Touring XT model of the Legacy, which is what we happen to be in. Because that's good stuff right there. People sometimes, they look at all kinds of different aspects of the car, but they don't look at the overall durability. I mean, especially if you lease cars, it doesn't matter. You know, you're going to get rid of it in 2 years, more than likely, and get something else. But if you actually purchase a car to keep, you need to look over this stuff carefully, and the durability factor is a very, very important one. And I recommend highly. The leather is fantastic, but some of the new synthetics, like your soft Texas and things like that, are also very, very well-made, durable materials. And they can also handle dogs. Now, you know, Subaru has prided itself on being a very pet-friendly manufacturer, and they are. The cars are, to a large extent, I would call pet-friendly, especially the wagon, the Outback wagon and things like that. They think about these things when they're putting the car together so that there's not any, unlike one of the companies that owns a third of them, Toyota, which I found out with the Tundra, I complained about a few things because I said, obviously, you know, if you're a farmer with a dog, your dog can cause all kinds of mischief with the placement of the controls being down here, where some of them should be up here and out of harm's way. But they didn't even consider that. They told me that, though. I asked them, and they said, no, we didn't think about it. So there you go. Now, rear seat on our Legacy. Almost 90 degrees, huh? Not quite. But here we have my notes on the floor, and very, very roomy back here. Your leg room in particular, let me flee this away, is very nice for your taller occupants. And the headroom is good too. I got an inch or two above my 5'8" head. And the rake of the seats is such that it's very comfortable. It's a lot roomier back here than you would initially be led to believe just looking at the car on the outside, which I always am fascinated how they do that, but they do that, a lot of these manufacturers. And let's see, how far does our window go down? These are things that matter to me. 100%. Oh, I love that. Auto up and down, 100%. You don't have any map lights per se, you just have the central right here, which is, you know, you just got to live with that. I don't know why. With every other incredible consideration they've given to the inside of this car, why you don't have map lights for your rear passengers, I don't know. It must be expense, who knows. Now, here's an interesting one. I was just in a car, can't remember which one it was. Well, anyway, the armrest literally just laid down on top of the lower cushion to the rear seats. This one is much higher up and as a result is much more comfortable. I really appreciate that, their efforts there. There is no ski through, but you do have your 60/40 fold out seat situation. Very large drive shaft tunnel, not excessive, but I'd call that moderate. Now it's higher than moderate. It's between moderate and high. It's somewhere in there. Then we have our heated outboard seats here. Isn't that great? Even your rear passengers will be comfortable in the wintertime. Huh? Isn't that nice? I appreciate that. I appreciate that effort. So there you go. There's a lot of room in the back of this Legacy. Much more than you would think just looking at the exterior of the car. Very impressive job by Subaru. Oh, I knew I forgot something. I mean, it's not every day you get a car that's got a magic trick incorporated with it. So I'll tell you how this works here. All right, you ready? We have our center console here. Now I'm going to lift up the center console. And look, there's a little tray. I could put a deck of cards right there if I wanted to. And now I shall make them disappear. I'll close that. Now let's just open it again. It's gone! And we have a little storage area. Isn't that cool? Let's try that again. You don't believe your eyes, do you? Look there. All that stuff's in there? Okay, good. Oh my God, it's all gone. What happened? I had it only took me about 4 days to figure out what was going on there. You got two different switches right here. Threw me for a loop, friends. I was just beside myself trying to figure that out. But that's I'm sorry I forgot to tell everybody about that. Is there anything else I forgot? Not really. Let's just say that the center stack screen here is incredibly comprehensive about you can access all the major functions of the car through there and fine-tune things, including turning off your auto stop, which I've complained about before because it's kind of rough when you're sitting at a light for a while and then it starts up. It's a dramatic event, unlike so many other cars these days where you hardly even notice it gets fired up. But there you go. All right, magic trick over. Sorry I forgot to do that for you. Well, I'll tell you what. This is the perfect weather to test our Subaru Legacy, because it's wet and cold and nasty and just generally unpleasant outside. But inside it is quite nice and comfortable. And I'm still trying to figure this thing out. First thing I noticed right off the bat is this Boxer 4-cylinder turbocharged 4-cylinder flat 4 Boxer is very smooth. In theory, all flat 4s and flat 6s should be completely smooth due to their perfect primary balance, meaning that when one piston is being compressed and thrown this way, there's another piston over on the other side coming over here doing the same thing. And well, the bottom line is there's a lot of cancellation of forces going on in a flat 4 that implies a very nice smoothness to the engine. And this one's really nice. But the thing is, no matter what kind of engine configuration you have, you're always dealing with vibration, because there just is vibration in engines. And this one is very nice. This particular unit, which has 2,519 miles on it, it's a good one, this one. I like this one. This motor's very good. Also has your, of course, your continuously variable transmission that Subaru is constantly messing with and tweaking and evolving so that it feels more and more like a conventional transmission in many ways. And yet it's still a CVT. And why not just put a conventional transmission in instead of a CVT? Well, they like CVTs, continuously variable, because that can be a real boon to fuel economy, because you have a million ratios in there. It's literally a belt running on a cone kind of situation, so that you don't have these exact set geared transmission ratios. It'll change the ratio based on exactly what the engine load is and that kind of thing. And unlike so many others, and especially the older continuously variable transmission designs, this one is really quiet for that kind of engine. And it doesn't have a lot of the shortcomings that a lot of continuously variable transmissions have had. One of the biggest shortcomings being kind of a, what some people like to call the rubber band effect. Is it's kind of a laggy sort of response instead of just downshift, gear, go. But all the companies that sell continuously variable transmissions have been working hard on all these shortcomings to make the gearbox better, because one of the things that's great about it is it's actually pretty simple. Or it was. The basic fundamental design of a continuously variable transmission is simple. Fewer moving parts, and if it's done right, I tell you what, we got one on our, we have a side-by-side ATV. We use it to farm, and it's got your continuously variable. And it's got a weeny little 600cc V-twin engine in it, and you can haul like 1,000 pounds in the back of it. No problem. And I've gone up like sheer cliffs full of lumber with this thing. It's remarkable how well that does, and a big part of that is the gear ratios afforded by the continuously variable design. So that's one of the reasons. There's a lot of positives in continuously variable transmissions. And other things I've noticed about this thing and just driving around, a couple of things that aren't laudable. One of which is it has an auto engine stop feature when you pull up the lights and that kind of thing. It's conserve fuel, the engine shuts off and it starts back up. This thing can be positively violent when it starts back up. And I say that in comparison to the best of the start-stop breed, which is hybrids, which are super smooth. Vroom, they just start right up. Or even the Stellantis Chrysler system that often uses an e-torque type of setup on the Ram trucks in particular, that make it start up very smoothly and quickly and instantaneously, very nicely. But this thing feels like it has a conventional starter in it, and the whole car even jerks when it's started back up a couple of times. I don't know if that's just the design the way it is, or if there's a problem with this car. I don't think it's the latter. I think it's the former. And that just surprised me, because, like I say, it's such a smooth, and otherwise a very smooth idling and a smooth running engine. Really nice. One of the great advantages of this car, I'm demonstrating right now, though you can't tell really, is there's a huge wind coming across here, literally a crosswind. And because of the lower profile, this being a sedan instead of an SUV, it's not blown around near as much. It stays put. Very little steering input is necessary to keep it going straight because the wind just goes right over it. And I admire that. I admire that greatly. I just admire the fact that Subaru, like a few other companies like Hyundai and Toyota, and who else? Kia, of course, being part of Hyundai. And I'm leaving somebody, oh, Volkswagen, Honda, still make cars. You're not stuck between buying either a full-size pickup or an SUV with, like you are with like Ford. I mean, you don't have a lot of choices anymore. They had some great passenger cars that they've just discontinued because why? Because nobody wants them. No, that's not true. Talk to all these other manufacturers. The reason they're doing it is the profit margin is so much higher on SUVs and pickups, especially with the insane amounts they're charging these days for trucks, because people are convinced they need a truck. So, man, this rain's coming right on down. And yet I'm in control thanks to my symmetrical all-wheel drive. I think that's the way we want to go, but I can't sit behind this guy forever. He's going too slow for me. So I'm going to have to do this, slow this car down a little bit, slow her down. And we go over here. Well, that rain's just coming down. I bet my basement is underwater again. The perils of living in where I live. Another thing that's bad right now, as far as from an evaluation standpoint, is with all this rain and stuff, it's kind of hard to judge the quietness of the cabin at speed. I don't hear anything that remotely resembles road noise, but I do hear some air noise. But then again, look at this wind we got going on here. This is where you need your deflectors, your wind deflectors. The steering on this car, maybe this is, I just got out of a Mazda CX-50, which has, to me, unusually stiff power steering assist. I don't know if it's, because I can't honestly sit and tell you that the road feels better. You can tell what the front end's doing and what the steering is doing better because of that. It just seems stiff. Whereas this car seems very light. The steering boost is a lot stronger than what's on that Mazda. Interesting. Night and day different too. You notice it right off the bat when you drive these cars. And the Mazda's gone. I had it a few days ago. Last time I drove it was 2 days ago. But I remember that. It is ensconced in my memory. So what else? You want to see the map? Would you like to see the map? I have also. I'm saying good laudable things about this car because there's things I really like about it a lot, but there are things I don't like. I don't like the portrait shape center display, and I especially don't like how the access works on this because I don't think it's intuitive, and you got to look down and find stuff. There's our map. And I'm just not into that. I'm not into the looking down. I like to have it up here if I'm going to be looking at the screen all the time, which you have to do more than you might think, even though the Subaru was thoughtful enough to give you some radio control knobs here. You got your volume and your tuning, which I'm very happy to see. You know what? What the hell is this? Does that do anything? No, it's just a brand name. See what happens with touch screens? It gets you confused. Menu. Oh, that's good. Look at all the different ways you can access your destination. Very good, very good. Laudable again. Let's go back to where we was. There we go. Now, Now I'm going to see if I can widen this distance a little bit. I'm following too close for these conditions, in my opinion, behind this Palisade. Kelly Van Horn. Who's Kelly Van Horn? He's a production manager and a producer in the motion picture business, and I know he used to live in Pacific Palisades. Palisade. Does he drive one of those? I think they should just give, if you live in the Pacific Palisades, any area that is named by Hyundai or by Kia for that matter. No, it's just Hyundai that does it. That's right. No, wait. No, I lie. Because the Palisade in Kia is Telluride. So if you live in Telluride or if you live in the Pacific Palisades, I think Hyundai and Kia should just give you one. Give you a car. You live in Santa Fe? Give them a Santa Fe. How about Santa Cruz, California? Your little pickup truck that Hyundai makes. Yeah, let them have it. Give them one. Here you are, you're a citizen. Let's see, where's your address? Okay, there you go. Have a blue one. You gotta like blue, here's a blue one for you. Well, this is inclement. We've gone from raining to inclement. What's our outside temperature? Where's that? 55 degrees, so it's like gotten really warmer with the rain. Could that be a warm front?
I-84 west towards Hartford.
Yeah, she just, you know, she just comes in whenever the hell she wants to, says whatever the hell she wants to. I don't know who she is. It's not like she's in the back seat with you, is she? Well, anyway, I made a discovery, and my discovery was the reason that I couldn't find the mode selection for the drive modes is this car does not have Subaru's SI drive. And SI drive is their designation for the systems that involve sport settings and that kind of thing for your drivetrain, you see. So, boy, visibility is terrible. It's just rain. But it's that really bright type of overcast. Now, as you can see, from this humongous display, similar to that Tesla right there, which is, oh boy, that's a piece of work. The degree of detail in the map is pretty amazing, but again, it's lower and it's semi-distracting. But it's good. I mean, it's a good system, and I
After 1/2 mile,
yes, keep right.
I-84 west.
Where's that?
Hartford.
Towards Hartford. Wow, but I'm in Washington State. Look at all this rain. Gosh.
Keep right.
All I could say is, gosh. Well, my God, even the road sign says Hartford on it. What the hell is that about? Well, I tell you what, I don't have a proper Monroney, but I have this thing supplied by Subaru that's got all your stuff on it. It looks like there's actually not a lot of options on this vehicle. It comes heavily equipped with all kinds of stuff and your Starlink and all the other cool stuff. And a final price of $38,715.
Oh, and a little bit of parsley. Bam!
And now that the rain is once again abated, we will say farewell to our little friend, the Legacy. A very nice sedan, very nice all-wheel drive sedan, especially, and very nicely equipped. However, one caveat, it is a Subaru and they do everything a little differently, so you need to remember that before you plunk down your hard dollars that you're doing something different if you've never had a Subaru before. Y'all take care. See you again.